The scientific image of nature as just things, commodities and resources, to be bought and sold at will, is what's really behind the destruction of the earth. It's what enables the destruction of the earth. In fact, the whole notion that matter is what's really real is the source of every illusion that human beings have. I apologize, I have allergies to this incredible part of the world in which I live. I'm proposing a new universe picture based on consciousness as the fundamental term for the universe and of our understanding. And with it, reincarnation as the right perspective on our lives. First of all, just to back up a little bit, more on the human condition. What reincarnation tells us is life is both physical and non-physical, because life is a property of consciousness, not matter or matter and energy. It's physical and non-physical, just as when a person expecting imminent extinction dies and gets back in the spirit world, their first reaction is usually, hey, I'm still alive. Life is a property of consciousness. Reincarnation is the right perspective on our own lives. Ultimately will be the right perspective on what the earth around us really is. And reincarnation is the great equalizer. Let me spell out some more of the meanings of the fact that we reincarnate. We take on earthly existence to know and to experience, just to experience the earth plane at every level, in every social role, as both sexes, in every conceivable climate. We want, what we are angling for when we come here is a very total experience of earthly existence. And so earth is where the trip is. It isn't about getting up to heaven. We're all going to end up, quote, back in heaven. We're all going to end up back in the spirit world from which we come. When we're on earth, earth is where the trip is. And so it's time to stop gazing heavenward and be here and ask what we're here for and what everything else is here for also, and come to some much more complete and whole understanding, especially of our community and our commonality with all other beings on the planet, than what separates us. The modern world is a function of spiritual ignorance because reincarnation has not been taught here. Okay, we come in all roles, in all climates and places, as both sexes. If reincarnation had been taught in the West, there would have been no reason for the 17th century council that met to decide whether or not women had souls. Actually, it was passed by 3 votes. If reincarnation had been taught here, the gifts of both sexes would have been honored from the beginning, because you're not divine in your male lives and not in your female lives, as our dualistic traditions have taught. There would not have been this terrible imbalance between these two principles, and we would not find ourselves living in a male-dominated world. How can reincarnation is the profound equalizer, i.e., there's no reason to look down on anyone, because who they are is either who you have already been or who you will be. And reincarnation isn't a straight line affair, progressing to better and better states of consciousness in a single linear way, but reincarnation plays over a whole spectrum of developing certain qualities, certain characteristics, certain abilities in this kind of life than in that kind of life. It's really much more about wholeness than a perfection. And with wholeness goes along a perspective that some people are more evolved than others. It has to do with a very broad spectrum of Earth experience. Now, so reincarnation is a profound equalizer. No reason to despise any sex over another. No reason to look down on anyone. It's the great leveler. And because who you are is not just deeply connected to who others are in this life. It's connected with what roles you have played in past lives. Okay, and here comes the most essential perspective of all. Reincarnation puts the ground under ethics. Now, the first meaning of reincarnation and ethics is justice prevails. If it doesn't seem to be working out on the earth plane, it works out hereafter, or it works out not in this life on the earth plane, but in other lives on the earth plane. Because reincarnation always comes with an understanding of karma. Now this is why Jesus taught it. Karma is not about punishment. No one is being punished. Karma says, well, in the simplest way, whatever you do to others, they will do back to you in this or some other life. This is not a punishment. It's a way to learn and to understand how the actions you took towards others affected them by experiencing exactly what you did to them. This is a very profound way of coming to understand the effects of your own actions on others. And it's a way of awakening. It's a way of waking up, coming to understand others. And so, reincarnation and karma are the tip-off to something else about the universe, that it has to do with love and understanding. The universe has something to do with truth. And so, that's the real meaning of karma. That's why these things happen, because in order that you may live and grow. Now, Jesus taught reincarnation, and if you realize that he had reincarnation in mind, his ethical precepts become luminous. Those who live by the sword die by it. You reap what you sow. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Reincarnation puts the ground under ethics. Jesus' precepts aren't just hanging there. They have a reason for being. And that's the reason. That's why Jesus is teaching them, because this is how the universe works. It's a reciprocity of experience in order that we can awaken, that we can learn, grow, come to love and understanding. Okay. Wars will end. People think, let me back up a minute. Reincarnation puts the ground under ethics. There is one law of the earth plane, and there is only one. Harm to none. Everyone knows when they come here that that is the law, harm to none. And then they forget, or they get talked out of it. Now, karma, reincarnation, what this means is that we are all together in a very profound moral order. An order of beings who are profoundly equal at some level, who are all growing and learning and changing. We are, and And whatever actions we take toward others have profound consequences for ourselves. Now, the human race is not good at physical consequences. It is not good at knowing that the chemicals we put down our sinks are going to end up in our drinking water. It cannot figure even these little things out. It is even worse at moral consequences. Most people these days think we come out of a very recent tradition that there is no real moral order. Ethics, this comes from Freud, ethics is just the voice of the parents in us. We cannot possibly be held responsible for our actions because we are just the miserable little animals who are conditioned from birth to act in a certain way, and we can't be held responsible. The modern world is the expression of these ideas. There's no God, everybody knows that. It's just a father figure projected on eternity. Very limited view of human reality. There is, in fact, a profound moral order in which we are all connected. And people do whatever they think they can get away with. The truth is, in the profoundest moral sense, you can't get away with anything. You are responsible. And the idea that we are all determined is probably the most powerful determinant of present behavior that there is. Human beings function through ideas. The idea that we are all determined being one of them. But the truth is, given reincarnation and the truth that we are immortal, eternal beings who reincarnate, it's a very much deeper perspective on ethics. And so we have this attitude that we all these days people do whatever they think they can get away with. No God is punishing anyone. You hold the keys to your own destiny in your own hands. Nobody needs an army of priests and professors to tell one what to do. Jesus' golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, reflects this deep truth that we are all connected and we are all responsible for each other and we are responsible for one another. And I dare say the earth and all beings on the earth are also a part of this moral order. We are responsible for them. We are accountable. Nobody can get away. You cannot fake it. And it's time for people to realize they are responsible for the well-being of everyone around them, of themselves, and of the animals, the trees, and the plants who share the planet with us. There is a profound moral order at the heart of existence. Now, without the teaching of reincarnation, ethics is very weird. You have to look at the great philosophers and human history from the understanding that they had no teachings about reincarnation. The whole of the earth plane has only one law that applies to it, harm to none. The whole edifice of ethics is really underpinned by the very simple law, harm to none. But, when scientists retire, they write books on ethics they call Man the Ethical Animal, because without pretend that you don't know now that reincarnation is the way the universe works. There's no moral order. But ethical philosophers say, oh yes, we must respect each other. We must do this. We must do that. Well, where in a universe that's just facts does anything you ought to do like this come from? Nobody knows. And so ethics just kind of dangles there. Here are Jesus' precepts. Well, are they right because Jesus taught them? Or are they right because this is what God says to do? Or are they right because this is the structure of the universe? They're right because it's the structure of the universe. And the universe, we are beginning to get glimpses through reincarnation and through these facts about reincarnation into the nature of the universe itself. Now at this point you have to go back and you have to read the evidence for reincarnation if you're uptight about it, because given the evidence, this is the nature of the beast and this is who we are. Okay. Things are not what they appear to be. Taking matter to be what's real is the source of all illusions. Taking consciousness to be what's real is the source of the right understanding of who we are, who the animals are, and who others are. Okay, now, this is not some abstract, reincarnation is not some abstract academic argument, some academic thesis to be funded by you-know-who. It has profound social and political implications. First of all, social implications. Who are the people who are around us? Well, start with our families, our fathers, our mothers. Well, who were they in past lives? Is it just this life we come into? Or are we, in fact, engaged in connections that go far, far back? And we're here working out issues in relationship, issues in love and truth. Our parents may have been old friends from a former life, lovers from a former life. Our roots are very deep, and the kinds of issues that we're all working on are very deep. We come in with old friends, and these aren't friends. I look at my friends in this life; they are friends from way, way back. They're friends from ages ago, and the connections that we have with each other are rooted way back in the mists of time. Human identity, our identities are mythical. They're magical, and it's the primary spiritual reality that we are, gives all of the meaning to our physical lives, our physical existence. The meaning of life has a lot to do with my spiritual reality and why I've come to the planet, and who with and what for. And so that's the first question. Take a look. It implies a much richer social framework where we relate to people as they were and not who they are. Can be a very profound way of knowing oneself and being oneself. Very creative. And we need a little public magic. Well, there it is, We've been in this for quite some time. And now another profound mystery. The people, the poor. Well, just who are the poor? Scripture calls them, church tradition calls them the Anawim, the little ones. Jesus always had a preference for the little ones. Henry Kissinger calls the poor bottom feeders and thought that in fact they should be exterminated. Well, who are the poor? Well, the poor may have been kings and queens in a former life, rich bankers. They may have been spiritual masters. They may be adepts at certain trades in the past. They may be highly evolved beings. Many of the poor, I can tell you, are much more highly evolved beings than the Henry Kissingers of the world. And so there's something very profoundly mysterious about the people that we regularly label and put down. And human beings, we have all been told for so long that we are statistics, that we are numbers, that we are consumers, that we are there to be dumbed down and turned into the workforce or the whatever, or collateral damage, that terrible modern term. We have been told all this for so long that we have no idea of what our true identities are. But what is happening all across the planet at this point, at every level of human life and of ordinary earth life, is a scriptural truth: the last shall be first. The stone rejected by the builder is the cornerstone. What's sweeping through the Middle East is the sense that, we're human beings. We have dignity. We are free. And we are not going to be treated as servile slaves any longer by some kind of despot who thinks he's closer to God than we are. Reincarnation is a profound equalizer. At a very deep level, we are all profoundly equal here. We are all in it together, and it's a learning and growing experience. Some of us are not more worthy than others. We are just different. But we are not worthy, and we are responsible for everyone else. All of the oppression, all of the tyrannies of the world, all the systems of oppression are founded on the notion that some people are more perfect than others, some people are more divine than others, on and on and on it goes. At a very deepest level, and this is why all people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as do the animals, the trees, and everything else, because we are all profoundly equal. We are all students and teachers here. And the teacher in one little setting is a student in another. And so this is a call, this is a time in history when all those at the base of these hierarchies are called to take their power back. It's women's time to take back their power, find their voices, get to their feet, and make a difference. It's time for the poor, the people, to wake up to who they really are, to reclaim their power. We are not to be dumbed down and manipulated and controlled into doing what some rich people think are the appropriate ways to behave on the earth plane. It's not what it's about. It's about evolving and growing and changing. And so really the Buddha taught at the simplest maxim of all maxims, kind-heartedness, fellow feeling, kind-heartedness, love. Jesus taught it. And there's a reason that he taught it. And the God of love has something to do with the way the universe is structured. And reincarnation is not, it's not some esoteric doctrine. It just happens to be the way the consciousness universe functions. Now, okay, those are some of the meanings of reincarnation. And these are profound ideas to get a hold of. But if there's something to take away from what I'm saying, it's that you are a very powerful being. You are not just a statistic or a number. You are a powerful being. You are here for a reason. You have a role to play. And you are just as important as everyone else. Start asking yourself, what am I here for? What is my role? And so, reincarnation gives us a sense of ourselves that a great many people have not had for a very long time, because we have been dumbed down by fear thanks to the cunning and the conniving of male priests. And all of the lies are coming to light in this very unusual and creative time of awakening on the planet. And happy to ask the deeper questions, what are we here for? Is it all about just watching TV and devouring the earth? Or is it something else? It's something else. And we are responsible. We are responsible for the planet. We are responsible for each other. And I say we're here now to nurture the planet and one another, and to create the Garden of Eden that it was always intended to be, where we can learn our lessons and grow and evolve along with the growth and evolution of every other being. And so, Now I return to the universe. We're opening the little flaps of our Cartesian box. What does reincarnation tell us about the true causalities of the universe? Well, in fact, it gives us a fathomless glimpse into the true causalities that lie behind physical events. And that's what I'm going to go on to spell out. Let me just summarize the ideas that I've given you. Reincarnation is the key to the truth of our identities. Reincarnation is the key to the true nature of physical reality all around us. It's an expression of consciousness, and in fact, it's an expression of eternal, immortal, other living spiritual beings like ourselves. And in the third mystery, the human condition, reincarnation has implications for how we see everybody else. It has implications for ethics. It has implications for a kind of fairness in dealing with everyone, and is the ground for a very kind-hearted attitude to one another. And it has profound social and political implications because of this profound equality. And it's a time for everybody to be claiming their own right to be and to be taken seriously and respected, along with all the little creepy crawlies of the planet, who are far more important to the planet at this point than any of us are. Okay, let me just begin the issue of causality. We're trying to understand the consciousness universe. We're trying to spell out the nature and the truth of a universe where consciousness is the fundamental term. Now, we've made a lot of headway already, and you're probably reeling with the implications. As a close friend of mine said, these ideas are astounding, but I have to find my own way. I understand that. So I'm going to give you now what I think is most amazing about the causalities of the universe, because the fourth great mystery, if the universe isn't explained by the forces, by pushes and pulls, how is it explained? Well, okay. I'm going to mention the mysteries that we're all living in that are so obvious that we don't even see them anymore. First, the first causality. Everywhere that we can really see the causalities of events, mental events precede physical events. I will to raise my arm and it goes up. I have the idea I'm going to call somebody for dinner. I'm going to meet for dinner, and it sets in motion a whole train of physical events. So I pick up the phone, I make a call. Mental events precede physical events. Ideas and our ideas and our physical existence are so interrelated that we don't even realize the absolute miraculous nature of what's going on. Is that a mental event is preceding physical events, and this is, I'm going to suggest, the way of the whole universe. The true causalities belong to mental events. And secondly, come the physical events. And then Michael Newton's, I urge you to take a look at Michael Newton's work. According to what people who can remember choosing a life can say about it, we are in the spirit world. We lay out our whole life in ideas, in thought. We lay out the whole life that we're going to lead in the physical plane, who we're going to meet, when, where, etc. And then we come into physical reality and we live it. Everywhere that we can see it at all, either through hypnotic regression or just looking at our own actions, mental events are the fundamental events. Two, Second causality. I've been talking about it all along. The Cartesian universe functions blind. It pushes and pulls. Blind chance, brute matter, stuff like that. The consciousness universe functions according to intent, plan, purpose. What the philosopher Aristotle called final causality. It's underlain by purposes. We come into existence for a reason. We have a purpose in being here. Our lives are the embodiment of purposes of all kinds. And so I've said then the real question for any one of us is, who am I and what is my life purpose? It is our life purpose that actually determines what sex we will come in as, what timing in history, what kind of body we will have, what kind of education we will draw to ourselves. Our life purpose determines almost everything about ourselves. And so the consciousness universe functions according to, it's a complicated world, teleology, but it has purpose and plan behind it. And purpose and intent and plan just underlie every aspect of physical reality. Okay. Now, there are three other very distinctive kinds of causality that we can know in ourselves. Now, again, I'm taking us as simply an instance of the whole universe, just a rather breathtaking clue as to what's going on everywhere. Here are three causalities that we also know in ourselves, beyond just mental events and purposes. Ideas, love, and will. Let's start with ideas. Ideas, our entire human life is shaped by ideas. We try to get them clear, we argue about them, we fight wars over them. Every high-rise that goes up, every parkway that's built, every machine that is made is underlain by ideas. It is an idea of, it embodies an idea. Everything human beings do is a function of ideas. Are they also there in the universe? Both Einstein and Gödel thought they were. So did the great idealists like Plato, Aristotle, and Hegel. They all thought ideas are a causality. They are the ultimate causality of human life. The idea that we are all, quote, determined and therefore not responsible being one of them. We cannot escape ideas. They shape everything we do. Well, just what are ideas? Actually, we don't know very much about them, but we live our lives through the power of ideas. They organize our consciousness. They are organizing principles of our consciousness, of our lives, and they are the ultimate causality of our lives, or one of the ultimate causalities. For a start, what are ideas? Well, one idea gives rise to another idea. Ideas give rise, trains of ideas give rise to other ideas. Very strange form of reproduction, that's not widely noticed. And evolution, well, it's the unfolding of ideas. History, the unfolding of ideas. And there's more because consciousness with its field properties is more. Ideas are like, they organize the stuff of consciousness. Consciousness is like, it has field properties, it's continuous. And ideas kind of give it shape and form and focus. And we focus the energy of our lives through ideas. And okay, everybody knows this. Pretty amazing what ideas are. They organize consciousness, ways of organizing consciousness. Second great causality, we all know, love. Now we could say ideas are our masculine modes, love is our feminine. but love is the wider, richer, and the ultimate, more ultimate term. It's a great impulse for life itself, for everything we do. It's the motor. It's the generator. And when is the balance between ideas and love right? Well, ideas serve love. Love empowers ideas. Ideas serve love. There's an interplay between our male and female modes. And we all go better with love. So do the animals, so do the trees, so does everything. Third causality is the will. The will in us is just a faculty for translating ideas, translating the impulse of love and ideas into practice. So these are very simple causalities. We know them in ourselves. When you want to understand consciousness, take a look inside. You won't see it on the outside anywhere, but just take a look at, if we can question ourselves in the right way, we can understand the basic principles of all beings. The key is finding the right questions. And so I'm putting it to you in the form of causalities of consciousness. Consciousness is organized by ideas. Consciousness is an expression of love. But at this point, I'm just going to say love is another attribute of consciousness. Ideas belong to consciousness. Life is a property of consciousness. Love is a property, and the emotions, they are properties of consciousness. The real properties of the universe and characteristics are those of consciousness. And we're just starting to spell them out. We're starting with reincarnation, and we're going on into the deeper causalities. Okay, let me take it another way. The Cartesian universe consists of things, matter, commodities, and resources that function blind, pushes and pulls. The consciousness universe consists of selves, S as in Sam, E-L-V-E-S, selves, beings. Beings are not things. You cannot get beings from things. This is the whole hang-up of present-day science. You cannot get selves out of things. They have to be there in the beginning. And selves, think of ourselves. We have a sense of ourselves. We have a sense of our own identities. And selves have another characteristic. They're in ourselves, with a sense of identity, we are organized around an I. And when a little child learns the verb I, like I am, she metamorphoses. We have an I in us that is like the focus of embodied consciousness. Our consciousness is organized around an I, and the I has the ultimate mystery of the whole universe, subjectivity. Subjectivity is something that we can only know in ourselves, but it's there in everything. A little cat, quite dear to itself, has a sense of its being, has a sense of itself. Senses of self come and go, but we have a sense of ourselves. So we function under mental causalities, we function under plan and purpose, and we have reasons for being. A self. Take a look at your own self. How are you organized? Ideas, love, will, an I, subjectivity, and with the self come the most ultimate final causalities or intents of all: self-development, self-expression, self-fulfillment, ultimate values in terms of which we organize our lives, ultimate causality of every form. Many neuroscientists these days are saying, well, Actually, it's subjectivity all the way down. That is the great mystery of the universe. This is subjectivity. These are things we can only know in ourselves, but by inference we think everything else has something like it also. And I want to say subjectivity is not just there. That subjectivity is the ultimate causality of the universe. It's bedrock for us, and the term self is bedrock in the universe. Now, many physicists these days and cosmologists believe that behind the universe and embodied in the universe is some very simple idea. I would say it is the idea of self. And it's as if the universe has said, let there be selves. Let there be infinite selves of every kind, degree, and description, with each with its own life purposes and its reasons for being in a way that is compatible with the life purposes and reasons for being of every other self. Now, that is the universal ethical principle. And I would say the idea of self, with its I, with its subjectivity, is bedrock in the universe. That is the idea, that is the most fundamental idea embodied in the universe. Now, these are complicated notions to get hold of, but actually they're very simple, and I am going to come back to them again and again. Subjectivity and our own I, because spirituality has something to do with connecting our little I with the great I am of spirit that is within us. But these are matters for a deeper time, for a future time. I am proposing that these principles that we find in ourselves aren't particular just to us. They belong to everything. That love is a principle in the universe. We are just an instance of it. That ideas are behind the whole of physical reality. They organize physical reality. That a tree is an embodiment of an idea. And so Aristotle had a very beautiful way of putting it. He said, in knowing, the soul becomes, in a way, all things. In knowing, the soul becomes, in a way, all things. And the search for truth is the attempt to bring the ideas that are in our minds into sync, into connection with the ideas that are behind the whole universe. The idea of consciousness being one of them. And these are, what I'm spelling out for you, are properties of consciousness. The causalities of the universe, the true causalities, are properties of consciousness. Love, will, ideas, and the deeper, that these are the causalities that come with selves. These are the way selves organize themselves. These are not described in the universe of things. They are looked at as simply the whirrings of the machinery. And so we are trying to get clear on our ideas on what the universe is, because they will have a profound effect on the way we connect with the reality around us and the way we think about ourselves. Neuroscientists love to say to people that everything that matters most to most people, like is there an afterlife, God, creativity, freedom, the positive emotions, am I responsible for my life? Do I have any power? Am I a creator or a victim? Neuroscientists love to tell people that, oh, but see, all these are just fantasies. What's really real are the neurons of the brain. But the deep truth is that, in fact, everything that matters to people is, in fact, what matters, because it's the truth of the universe, and we all know this. And in fact, it's the neurons of the brain that are up for question, and our whole preoccupation with matter, the real epiphenomenon here, the real thing that needs a little anchoring down is matter. This sounds complicated, but actually it is so simple. These causalities of the universe are so simple. We know them in ourselves. We don't yet know how they all work, but everybody has an intuition of how their ideas come into practice. And so we create our reality through ideas, and rumor has it that in fact ideas create whatever they're about in some dimension or other. They sound more complicated. Actually, they're much simpler than any scientific description of pixels of reality or quantum physics or anything else. These are the causalities that belong to consciousness, and they come with consciousness, and they're a possibility with consciousness. And so a whole lot of other terms come with consciousness, like free will, freedom. These are properties of consciousness. They are enormous problems given the world picture of modern science has spawned an enormous quagmire of complicated problems like freedom and determination, or spirit, or an afterlife. They end up, all of these complexities come from a false view of matter and a false view of the connections between matter and consciousness. I have spelled out some of those connections between matter and consciousness using the near-death experience. I've spelled some others out now using reincarnation. And now these are terms free. Everybody has free will. We have freedom. We create our lives. If we don't, everything we do is a function of our ideas. If you don't like your life, take a look at your ideas and figure out why you're creating this kind of life for yourself. And if you don't like it, change your ideas. Very simple. It has profoundly radical implications. Now, Jesus taught reincarnation. Jesus also taught love. Reincarnation is the key to this great mystery of a moral order in the universe, and that has something to do with understanding other people and caring for them. We would call it love. And Jesus said, the Old Testament is full of very complicated rules and regulations. Jesus said there are only 2 commandments. Love God with all your heart and soul, mind and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus taught love because that's the way the universe functions. That is a fundamental principle of the universe. It's as if he taught us about our own truth. Here's your path. This is who you really are. This is the way you need to go. And there is only one religion, and it is love. Jesus founded. Notice some very peculiar things here. First of all, Jesus bases all love on self-love. If you don't love yourself, you can't really love anybody else. If you don't cherish and value yourself, it's very hard to cherish and value anybody else. And then Jesus gave love as a commandment. If you're commanded to love God, there must be something lovable there. And so again, Jesus is tipping us off into the nature of the universe. Now, I haven't gotten into God at all yet, but God is simply infinite consciousness. And consciousness is going to turn out to be a fine, fresh way to think about religion. That as I have been making clear in these talks, has been falsified from the start. How can, I'm not going to go there, but religion has been so taken up with the falsification of Jesus' teaching and the lies that have been put in place in order to control others. We are at a different time in our history. These little stories which have kept us all in line have to go. And it's time for a much more profound understanding. And so the whole precept, the whole complicated edifice of ethics, forget it. There's just one precept of ethics: harm to none. We all know it, and if we can not only not harm anybody, but help everyone, or help every other being, what a world we will have. It's so simple. The truth is so simple. And so I turn to the last, there are a lot of properties of consciousness, like freedom, creativity, intelligence. These are all aspects of consciousness. The scientific minds have to get out of trying to figure out, well, how does intelligence work, stimulus response. These are all very complicated. It's so simple. It's so simple. It's laughable, actually. And Jesus says somewhere, "I praise you, Father, because you have hidden the truth of things from the wise and the learned and revealed it to mere children." The truth of things is so simple, and it has been held and withheld from us for so long that it's kind of shocking. But when you get used to these ideas, you realize, oh my God, there's so much more. These are the fundamental principles of not just our lives, but any life. And they're operating throughout the universe. The true universe, the true causalities are not given to sense experience, as science has built itself around sense experience. And so I ask the last question for today, and then I'm going to let you off the hook. The last question is, well, what's driving everything? Why are things happening? What's driving it? The ultimate law of consciousness, and it is the only ultimate law of consciousness. Consciousness must create. It must create, and it will turn itself inside out to do so. We all know this. We are all taken up with trying to figure out the answer for some question, and as soon as we get the answer, bingo, off we go and try to find a better one. Consciousness must create, and it will turn itself inside out to do so. That is the only law of consciousness. Now, you can forget about this. The whole of the scientific edifice is a description of the outsides of things. It is based on taking the most superficial appearance of things, beings, to be the real. And it's missing the real. It takes matter. Matter is an matter is an expression of consciousness. But science is taking matter to be what's real and finding itself in this quagmire of, well, then how does matter form an idea? Well, then how do the neurons produce consciousness? Well, then, how they've tried to base everything on matter for so long, and it will not work, and it is not working, and none of the prevailing questions about consciousness can be answered by the present material paradigms. They only make sense if we turn it the other way around and say it isn't matter that's really real, it's consciousness. Matter is an appearance of something more real, consciousness. The source of every illusion, the source of every tyranny, the source of all of the depravity of the modern world and the craziness that human beings are in, owes to thinking matter's all that is real, and that we are little beings that are just matter. And what's life for? It's about getting more and more material things. This is what the planet cannot take any longer from us, and is not about to take. And it's time to get ourselves clear. Now, matter seems very simple. It isn't. You look into every theory of matter, and you'll find some physicists saying, oh, we cannot possibly understand this. Oh, we cannot know this. There is no way we can ever penetrate these mysteries. Just turn it the other way around. Make consciousness your ultimate principle of understanding, because it is the ultimate basis of the universe, and see what follows. I have spelled out such a set of simple causalities. Take a look at them in yourself, how they work, how ideas work, the power of ideas, how we organize ourselves, how ideas give rise to all the ultimate mysteries of the universe are right inside you. You don't have to look anywhere else. And what you find in yourself is there in everything and everyone. Now, human beings are very deep on their inner sides. In our every being is. Outwardly, we function in 3 dimensions. Inwardly, we live in infinite dimensions. The soul is in eternity. Our inner being, our deep psyches, are in the depths of the universe, along with a lot of other depths of the universe, forms of consciousness down there. Science thinks it has it spelled out when it can get a precise mathematical description of something. I think it's spelled out when we get the basic principle. The basic principle is love. The basic principles are ideas, selves, things. Tom Berry, who wrote The Dream of the Earth, and the great work, who was a prophet for the earth when no one was paying any attention, said there are only 3 laws of the universe: subjectivity, differentiation, communion. What that means is, yes, subjectivity. My whole life is organized and an expression of my subjectivity. Sometimes you want to retreat into your subjectivity and you want to differentiate yourself from other people. I am different from this person. And then the final law is communion. We share our being with other beings. Now the whole planet is waiting for human beings to wake up to the fact that every little bird, every little earthworm has its own consciousness, its own reason for being and for being here. And the rest of the planet wants real relationships with human beings and to be honored as part of the ethical community upon which we are totally dependent. If they don't have rights, neither do we, because we are absolutely dependent on every other being. And so consciousness is a great connector. And in fact, consciousness is really open-ended. When you walk out, you can teach yourself to feel these things. You can interact with the consciousness of the tree. There's a communion between all forms of subjectivity. All forms of consciousness has field properties. The present paradigms have created a disaster for ourselves and for the planet. They are spiritually bankrupt. Our religions are morally and spiritually bankrupt. They are all founded on lies and on the intent to control some people by others. The intent to control is very much bound up with the old paradigms that have prevailed here, male superiority being one of them. And we are at a place in our history we are ready to shift into the really true paradigms, love instead of fear. If human beings can make this shift, and this is what is being demanded of everyone in the modern world, and it is the only real choice for everyone, make this shift into love, we will know what to do, how to live, who we are, how to treat other beings. And I am telling you that I am suggesting to you that these principles, which we find in ourselves, are the fundamental principles, not just of us, but of every being of the universe, because they belong to consciousness, and they come with consciousness. The old paradigms are all based on the weighing, the dissecting, and the analysis of matter. And they are really a description of the most superficial outsides of things. They're missing the real motor. They're missing the true causality. And all of it ultimately based on the absolute imperative of consciousness that it must create. And that's a pretty simple universe picture. You have to take up these ideas, especially reincarnation, and what it means, and work them out for yourselves. I'm going to come back to these ideas often, because Jesus came back to them often, because they're the key to human existence on the planet, to getting our values right, and to getting our attitudes to each other right. They are, when you know that the basic term for the universe is consciousness, then you have the source, you are in touch with the principle, the very principle of principles, the light in dark times. It is the key to everything. And it is the key to getting past just virtually every illusion that keeps us in our chains, that keeps the animals in their chains, that destroys the happiness, the well-being of others. It is the key to everything. And I'm going to leave you with that. The fundamental principle, consciousness. Now, can we say more about what consciousness really is? Well, yes, we can. And I'm going to go on in the next talk, and I'm going to say more about the makeup of consciousness itself, that it can be organized by ideas, that love and life and light are properties of consciousness, not reducible to physics and chemistry, and that something very interactive is taking place between all forms of being, between the molecules of neurons and ourselves. Something very interactive, not just reduction, not just push from behind. And we are not helpless victims of genes, drives, and parents, of childhood. We are powerful, potentially enormously powerful creators here of our own destiny. And we shall know commonwealth again. People hunger at every level of their lives to have a share in the determination of life on earth, of their own future, and of the future of civilization. And everybody has something to say about it, not just the guys at the top, and not just human beings, but the planet itself. The awakening that I'm talking about requires a shift in the fundamental paradigms that run our world at every level. And it has to do with women, the feminine, love, consciousness. These are the new terms that will allow us to get clear on who we are and what we're here for. And the past, our history, has glimpses and glances into the real, but it has been so bound up with the fear impulse that we have never gotten the earth right, and we have never gotten ourselves right. And so we have to get these fundamental principles of consciousness right, and then we have to rethink our systems, because our systems are corrupt, our economic and financial systems. They do not work. They are based on disrespect for life, and they do not respect the earth. And systems based on such principles, conquer nature and subdue it, cannot last. If they do not respect life, they cannot last. And it's almost as if the earth and the spirit of the earth is rising up in these present times saying, you have gotten me completely wrong. I'm not going to take this anymore. You human beings, you wake up. That's what this awakening is all about. The earth has always been awake. It's been waiting for people to finally get to the starting gate and start to see her and to appreciate her true nature, and to start being responsible and being accountable. We're completely free. We can do it. And so I say to every one of you, you're a powerful creator. Claim your power and move into love. The only choice for anyone on the planet is love over fear, because love is the fundamental principle of the universe, and everything else follows. I rest my case. These ideas may seem complicated at the beginning, but the more you mull them over, the more obvious they are, and the simpler they are. And they're not mathematicizable, but they are properties of consciousness. And I would say that we're in the process of replacing the great mathematical vision of nature that's really open only to scientists with a mystical vision of nature as intersecting fields of consciousness of all kinds that is open to everyone, and everyone has insights into the true nature of being and of the universe. And take the time in these times to awaken and tune out the sources of your fear. Turn off the TV, stop reading the media, and take a look at what the world is for yourself, and that there is nothing to fear. Jesus thought there was nothing to fear. That's why he could go through the crucifixion. There was nothing to fear. Jesus taught reincarnation for a reason, and maybe resurrection is a shorthand for reincarnation. But he taught these principles because they belong to the universe. They aren't just his, and anyone can know them. So I rest my case, and we'll go on and have some fun with what's really going down at the bottom of the universe, in the very base of the universe, where consciousness is setting things up. And so be well and claim the light and the love of these times, and the life that those two principles are trying to bring forth in every one of us and in the world around us. I rest my case.